like, share, comment, and provide me with feedback below. So today is a really special day for my friend who just got his brand new bike. In this video, we're going to build up the bike out of the box, give a brief overview, and then test it in 4 categories: climbing, enduro, jumps, and playfulness. This bike should be a perfect fit for the awesome, gnarly PNW trails Seattle has to offer, and my friend's going to be able to progress much faster than before. It's new bike day, so let's build it up. So this is the YT Capra Pro Race, a carbon enduro race bike made by YT Industries. This company offers great value on bikes because they ship it directly to your door instead of to a bike shop. Unlike my Norco Range, you have to build the bike yourself, and it greatly increases the value. The Pro Race is a top-of-the-line build, and it's valued at $5,500 US, which is a great deal. Now my friend actually wasn't supposed to get the Pro Race because he was super lucky. Originally, he was going to buy the Capra Base, which is just the standard model. That bike wouldn't have even been in stock until late August, so his dad made the awesome decision of upgrading to the Pro. That was coming sooner, but got shipped to Enduro. YT was awesome and gave a huge discount for the highest end model, and shipped that instead. Now, all we have to do is pump up the suspension, bed in the brakes, and make some minor adjustments. Now let's give a brief overview of some of the parts that make this bike great. First, the shifting is a SRAM X01 Eagle. This is an amazing drivetrain and will provide great quality shifting at all times, on the ups, downs, and flats. The suspension is great too. With 180mm of travel in the front and 170 in the rear, there's no shortage of suspension. When pointed downhill, the Capra's high-tier suspension does its job. In the front, there's a Fox 36, and the rear has an X2 shock. Also, just look at this color. Who doesn't love it? We can't help but just stare at it. I mean, the bike looks amazing. So now, we're gonna take this monster of a bike to Duthie Hill, which is a world-class mountain bike park close by our houses. The first of the 4 categories that we're testing this bike on is climbing, and let's face it, this is a big chunky bike, and it's not the best at climbing. Still though, its mostly carbon parts makes this a much better option than an alloy version. The Capra Pro Race is a straight enduro bike, and it's meant to win extreme races. There are many bikes that beat this in climbing, such as my short travel Fuel X7 and many other trail bikes. Since the Capra Pro Race's main focus isn't climbing, it does do a pretty good job. For its score in climbing, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 for enduro bikes and a 4 out of 10 for all bikes. For now, we're just gonna average it and say 6 out of 10. Given that a 5 is average for all mountain bikes, this is a decent score. Next, let's test the bike on some jumps, drops, and flow. I'll take it down Semper Dirticus first, which is a great trail to feel out a bike. Going off this roll-in, it feels kind of slow due to its lack of pedaling ability. I do get my speed back though. After hitting the bridge gap, I noticed that the Capra lands very smoothly. The bike also handled the drop well and absorbed the impact. This jump was hard to get speed for, but everything felt nice. Going into this final section, I made sure to pump the rollers to see how well the bike handled it. I also noticed on this final jump that the bike is super movable. I think I need to take another run on this bike to get used to it more, so let's test it on HLC line. On both of my bikes, this is a super flowy trail where I rarely have to pedal. Let's see what the case is on the Capra Pro Race. This first section was a breeze, just as normal. I had no trouble getting the speed I needed to clear the jumps, and it handled the berms well too. Right here's where I started noticing issues. Usually on my bikes, I can just coast, but in this case, I had to pedal. I also usually brake tap into the step up, but I went no brakes and I kinda cased it a little bit. By now, I was definitely noticing that you had to carry your speed a lot more efficiently, and also you had to boost. So what's the verdict with jumping? Well, I think this bike offers a very unique experience. You need to really work hard to clear some of the jumps, and you also need to boost pretty hard. If you get the speed necessary to clear jumps though, the bike handles very well. The best part by far is landing, as the nice suspension makes even the hardest cases unnoticeable. Though this bike isn't the best at jumping, I do think it's a very awesome experience, and I think you all should try it if you get the chance. So for the jumping category, I'm also going to test drops and rollers. For drops, I'm going to test how well it lands and how well it rolls off, and for rollers, I'm just going to see how much speed you can keep. For drops, I'm going to be honest, this bike is basically perfect. Aside from the fact of getting speed, I said before it lands super well. Rolling up to the drop also isn't an issue because usually you pedal. I felt this outstanding ability most on rough drops, where shorter travel bikes make it feel really weird. The long travel and slack geometry make this bike handle and land very well. For testing rollers, we just did a few pump track lap, and I easily noticed something. The amount of suspension that you have really takes your speed away when you're pumping, and it absorbs all of the impact. For the flow category, I'm going to give it a 7. I think this is a really fair score because though it's not the best at jumping, it lands and handles drops very well. The category related to jumping is how playful a bike is. For this, I'm judging how easy it is to give style in the air and also how maneuverable the bike is. The Capra maneuvers really well as its light components and smaller wheels make it very easy to handle. On my first lap of Gravy Train, I was barely even used to the bike yet and I was throwing some small bar turns, tables, and whips. It was really easy to do and I really loved the feel of it. The bike also corners very well, which is why I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 for playfulness. The Capra just floats over everything and it's super easy to give style. And now for the finale, what the YT Capra Pro Race was made for. Plowing through chunky technical sections. The bike's name says it all, Pro Race. This is literally what this bike is made for. I don't think there's a bike that I've ever tried that's better at tech than this, and you can literally feel nothing when rolling over rocks and roots. You may think I'm exaggerating, but no. This bike's geometry and suspension setup is perfect for plowing through tech. The sections that we tested this bike on are the 2 Braveheart rock gardens and then a few other wooden bridges with rough planks. This gave us a nice good idea of how the bike handled, and it's an easy 10 out of 10. Usually, I'm not one to like horizontal suspension setup, but for the YT Capra, it's definitely an exception. The way that the manufacturers executed this and made it handle tech very well is amazing, and I still can't believe it. Next week, I'll do an in-depth parts review of the YT Capra Pro Race, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.